Amen. You can be seated. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Nick. I'm the pastor here. I want to welcome all those watching online with us also. We believe church should be relevant, simple, and real. And we are so pumped about today. It's Baptism Sunday. We've got 7 already signed up. Going to give you an opportunity if you want to. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah. It's going to be a good day. With that said, I got one quick announcement before we get into it, and it's this right here. You should have walked in, sat down, and saw this card. It's a new series we're doing in 2 weeks, and I want to give you a little bit of a heads up. You have little ones. Every now and then people bring in their kids to this service. I just want to promise you something. It's a weird promise, but if you bring your kids to this series, you will have really awkward, uncomfortable conversations on the way home. Just want to let you know that, okay? Because we're going to be relevant, simple, and very real, okay? So we just want you to know that. And here's what happens. We do this series every year. It'll be new content, but we do this series kind of every year. And every year, somebody either doesn't listen to me or thinks their kids are special or I don't know what it is. And then they get mad and they send an email to me. And they're like, I can't believe you said blah, 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 blah. So predicting that, we just went ahead and got an email address set up for when you get mad at me and you don't listen to me. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to email to this right here. I don't care at riverlakechurch.com. And I really mean it, okay? Matter of fact, this is a working email address. You can test it. It gives you a great response. I can't wait. So anyway, really, that's the amount of effort I'm going to put into caring about your issues. So anyway, but at the end of the day, here's why we're doing this series. What we discover is this. This is an incredible series to invite your friends or family members because here's what I know. We live in a world, and we're going to hit it a little bit in a second, where everything seems great on the outside, but so many people struggle with their marriages, with their relationship, with dating, with being maybe a widow or you're divorced, and what do you do with that whole deal? We're going to be incredibly practical and real in this series, and so it's a powerful series to just invite them and say, listen, hey, I think you should come to this. And if they look at you and they're like, why? You'd be like, I think your marriage stinks. No, don't say that, but just be like, hey, come. So anyway, I'm pumped about that. I'm excited. Hey, let me pray. We are going to jump into it. It's going to be a good day. So let's pray. God, I just thank you so much. God, with everything you put on my heart, I pray that you just would just filter through all of my stuff, and I pray that what comes out would just be you, and it'd be what needs to be said to this service and this service alone for the people sitting here this moment. Lord, help us be present for the next few moments, to be open and to receive what you might speak through your word and your people. We love you and thank you so much. Amen. All right, well, hey, we are starting to wrap up. We got 2 weeks, this week and next week, a series called And what we said was, we've got this kind of theme for this year, this mission, as we talk about culture shift and change for our church, that what got us here won't get us there. And what we've said was, every single person in here, wherever you're at, no matter how old you are, no matter what you've walked through, there is a temptation, isn't there? To think, if I could just get here, if I could just get to that place in life, then I'll be okay. I don't know about you, but I have lied to myself so many times saying, listen, man, if I could just get out of high school, it's going to be great. If I could just get out of the house, man, that'd be awesome. If I could just get through college, I'm in college right now, it's a lot of fun, but if I could just get through college and graduate and get a full-time job, then my life would be good. If I could just find the right person to marry, I'm single right now, I'm dating, but if he'd ever, get off his butt and marry me, if he'd ever do that, if I could just get married. And then you got married, and it's like different kind of thing. If I could, anyway, that's 2 weeks, okay? So, but no, if I could ever just have kids, if we could just have kids, and you had kids, and you're like, but if I could just ever do whatever, if I could just ever get that job that I want, if I could just ever get to be retired, if I could just ever get over this health issue, if I could just ever get here, oh my goodness, then my life would be okay. But let's be honest, you got here. You got to that point. You discovered very quickly that, I got here, but now I want to go there. And it's an ever-changing, ever-elusive destination when, in fact, and it's the whole point of the series, that all of us were called to be on a journey where every single day we get up and we take our next steps. It's where comes from. And so what we've said is instead of being great, we talked about that a few weeks ago with service, instead of being great, we said, listen, instead of arriving at a destination, what if you just got up every single day and you decided, you know what, I'm going to become greater in my service. I'll never get there. And when I fail, I'll get back up. But because it's not a destination, I don't have to worry about where I'm at. I just have to worry about my next step. And we talked about that. And then week 1, we talked about what if I got closer in my important relationships? What if 2019, I really committed to joining other people? And we pushed small groups, and so many of you are in there. And I'll tell you, if you signed up, I want to encourage you, take that step, even if you haven't been to one yet. If you signed up, listen, people are getting closer. I can't wait. Ours is starting tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I love that kind of vision of saying, listen, we're not going to be perfect, but man, at 2019, we're going to become closer in our important relationships. And today we're going to talk about a different word. We're going to talk about being deeper in our walk with God. And to do that, I want to bring out something. Man, I love these things. How many of you like chocolate? Yeah, all of you should raise your hands. Bunch of liars. We'll talk about repenting later, all right? So here's the deal. I want you to look at it. Like, this is 2 chocolate bunnies. It's about Easter time. You can buy these. Man, that smells good. It's at my office all morning. It's a good thing we had an extra one. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So I ate the extra one. Man, they look the same, though. I mean, they're chocolate bunnies. They look the same. They smell the same. Same smell, same chocolate. They probably taste the same. We're going to check it out here in about 3 seconds. But really, if you look at them, there's really no difference in them. That they're the same bunny. I mean, a little bit different design, but I mean, you look at them, they weigh about the same. It's the same thing, except one very, very important aspect. See, what happens is when you apply pressure, all of a sudden, I can squeeze this one like crazy. But this one, it crumbles. They look the same. They smell the same. There's no discernible difference, except the issue of what they do when pressure is applied to them. And where I want to go today, what I want to talk about today is, for some of you, this is your life right now. That you looked good for a season, didn't you? You looked like you had it together. It happens in the church all the time. Isn't it so true? We come to church, and what do we say? How you doing? I'm doing amazing. It's great. Yeah, me and Jesus were great. I mean, you may not say it like that, but your smile communicates that. You say things like, how's your week? I'm fine. I have found that if somebody says, I'm fine 3 times, they're not, just on a side note. But we pretend, and we've got this image, right, to uphold in our world. And so many times in the church, we have this picture-perfect life where our finances are good, and our marriages are good, and our kids are so good, and we just kind of sit back and go, shut up, don't say that. No, don't say that here. You can say it at home, just don't say it at church, Like, we got this whole deal, and we're trying to protect it, and what happens is, where I want to go today is this. My fear is that many people in church, they spend their whole life trying to protect an image and trying to be like this. All the while, on the inside, they're hollow and empty. That really there's no substance to them. They're shallow. And the craziest part is they may not even know it. They may even be deceiving themselves, because what happens, isn't it so true? That everything's great until the storms come. There is no difference except for this one. This one's kind of looking at me a little bit cockeyed right now, like, oh, you didn't crush me. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I feel better. He was looking at me weird. I didn't like that. So just, I'm bigger. What happens, my fear for you, for me even, is that we become so enamored with what other people think about us. We become so enamored with the perception of the perfect house and everything like that we miss the fact that we're called to be deep. And we're going to look at a story today that talks about what I think every single person, I don't care where you are, I don't care if you're not a Christian, I don't care if you're a brand new Christian, I don't care if you've been a Christian for 50 years, this applies to you. I don't care if you're watching online and you're thinking, man, I'm just going to kind of check it out. It applies to all of us. And we're going to look at a story today from Jesus. And if you got a Bible, you can open up to Matthew chapter 7. And if you're not familiar with the context of it, let me lay it out for you. Matthew chapter 7 is the culmination of what is considered an amazing sermon by Jesus. He spends several chapters talking about how they should live their life. And so he's sitting back talking about their thought life and their married life and their sex life and what they should say and what they shouldn't say and forgiveness. And he talks about anxiety. And he's just dropping like truth bombs all over the place. And he's giving all this advice on how you should live. He's telling them, don't do this, and make sure you do this, and make sure you go there, and make sure you don't go there. And it's just all these kind of tidbits. It's like the best of sermon for Jesus, packed into this little bitty few chapters. If you really have never read it, I want to encourage you, read it this week. It's powerful. There's so much packed in these few chapters. But Jesus is speaking to maybe thousands of people. And we're going to pick it up because he's going to wrap up this kind of mini sermon that he's preaching on all these important topics. And he's going to say something that I think is maybe the most important thing that he says. Because while there's a whole bunch of kind of side conversations and tidbits, he's going to hit the core of what he wants them to do in this story. And if you miss this, it doesn't matter if you know the rest of the book. We're going to look at something so foundational. He starts to hone in. He looks at his crowd. And I believe, we read the scriptures, it says that they were engaged, that they were in awe, that he taught as one who had authority. Never seen anything like that. And so here, I want you to imagine, it's much like a sermon. He's on a stage and he's preaching, and everybody is leaned in. Everybody's engaged in what he's saying. He's saying things that they've never heard before. And they're taking notes and they're listening. And I think he notices this and he sees a potential danger within it. And he says this. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. He starts to go into this story. It's crazy. He's talking about practical stuff, and then he kind of goes into the story. And if you grew up in Sunday school, right, there's a song that goes with this. How many of you want me to hear me sing the song really quickly? That's what I thought. No, that was a joke. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was a test. Those of you who raised your hand failed, all right? No. But there's a song, you do the whole thing like that and the whole thing. Everything in me wants to sing it as I'm doing these motions. I'm not going to, but it's like the whole deal. There's a song built in. It's such a famous story. And Jesus, he looks at this and he says some important things. He says, listen, first off, I want you to understand, everyone, meaning, doesn't matter who you are. Meaning, and I didn't say this first service, I feel like I'm supposed to say the second service. It doesn't matter what your past is included. Because maybe there's somebody in here, you think you've gone way too far from God, you think you've messed up your life way too much. I want you to understand this applies to everyone. Maybe you're watching online and you don't even think you can show up. That's how much you've messed up, but you're trying to watch from the edges. I want you to understand it's everyone. Everyone who hears these words of mine, the message, the sermon, whatever that is, and puts them into practice, applies them, works through them. I love the word practice because I think sometimes we try God out instead of practice with God. We tried a budget 1 month. That's not for us. We tried giving one time. That's not for us. I tried serving in a church one time. That's not really for me. I tried forgiving somebody one time. They did it again. That's not really for me. We try it, and Jesus is like, no, you don't understand. Everyone who practices is like, and he uses this really interesting word, wise man who built his house on the rock. That's not Dwayne Johnson, okay? Just so we're clear. Although I'm pretty sure you could build a house on that dude. He says something so important. He says, listen, here's the deal. He built his house on the rock. And everybody that would be listening to him, all of a sudden it's this right turn. I want you to kind of imagine that you're there. You're getting all this truth and you're hearing all this applicable stuff. And he goes into this parable, this story, and everybody's listening going, well, yeah, of course you build your house on a rock. Where else would you build it? I mean, no one is taking notes in this moment. They're just listening. Luke gives us more of an insight into this because this doesn't give us totally the whole thing. Luke, it says it this way. It says, they are like a man building on a house who dug deep and laid the foundations on the rock. He says, here's the deal. I want you to understand, it's deep. It wasn't just that they kind of walked around and they like, okay, there's a rock, I'm going to build there. No. They found a great spot, but then they realized they've got to go deeper. They couldn't just build it wherever they wanted. They couldn't just shut up and be like, oh, I'm going to do here. That's kind of what we do, isn't it? We hear something about God and we just kind of shut up and like, I'm going to try that. And we don't go deep with God. We don't dig down with God. We don't go deeper with it. And what happens is it fails, and then we blame God and go, I tried that, it didn't work. So to practicing it. So to understanding that there's a habit forming in our lives that needs to happen as we go deeper. Luke clarifies a little bit more. No. He just didn't stumble upon this rock. No. He had to dig down deep in it. Some of you, you're waiting for God to just show up in your world and do everything for you. And God's going, no. I'm here. You just need to go a little bit deeper in your walk with me. I'm here. I got you. I just need you to go a little bit deeper. I need you to dig a little bit. I need you to go a little bit deeper than you've ever been before. But I want to go back because here's what he says. He says, this person who has this house, they did it. Here's what happens to them. Go back one verse. The rain came down, and the floods came up. Anyway, streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall, because it had the foundation on the rock. He says, listen, he's telling a story, and everybody's going, nobody's writing this down. Nobody's going, well, of course it did. It's firm. He says, here's the deal. When, not if. Because that's where some of you maybe messed up in your lives. You thought it was an if the storms come, but it's a when the storms come. If you're above the age of 14, you know storms come, don't they? Storms come in the form of a phone call you never expected about your health. Storms come in an email that you never expected about your job that says they're downsizing. All of a sudden the storm hits and you're wondering, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? Storms come when you have an unexpected conversation with your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, and all of a sudden the marriage that you thought was perfect, the marriage that you thought was rock solid, all of a sudden looks like this. And you're trying to put it back together. And you're trying to load things up. Storms hit all of us. No one's immune to them. Storms come when your kids do something that you didn't expect them to do. Storms come our whole lives. It's not a matter of if a storm will hit you. It's a matter of when a storm will hit you. And how you go through it is determined not by anything other than the foundation with which you have. Jesus is telling a story, and he's giving them great advice, and he's scared for them, I believe. He's looking at all the faces, and they're leaning in, they're engaged, and they're going, oh, yeah, right? You know, people in church do that, like spiritual cows, yeah. Don't call them that, though. That'd be mean. But anyway, they're just sitting there, He's getting a lot of amens. Tell him, preacher, whole deal. And he pauses at the end and says, hey, I got a warning for you. I got a warning for you, all of you who showed up here. He tells a story. There's two people. One's a wise guy, built a house on a rock, and he says, and everybody's listening to him going, yeah, of course. What else would you build it on? He goes, so glad you asked. He goes, because there was another guy. But everyone, meaning you're not special, meaning you're not unique. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And everybody's listening going, who builds their house on the sand? Like, who goes to the beach and thinks, this is going to last? Who goes to the beach and thinks, oh, this is the prime real estate, and doesn't dig down? No one does that. And everybody's listening to him going, who does this? And Jesus looking at him going, you do. You do this. Every time you show up and hear a sermon, you don't apply it. Every time you read your Bible, it says don't do something or make sure you do something. And you go, I got circumstances, I got situations. You don't understand. Mine's unique. Jesus going, no, you don't understand. Everyone. See, 2 weeks ago I preached on serving. Ticked a lot of people off, okay? It was great for me. I had a lot of fun doing it, actually. And I pushed some people, and here's the deal. I heard about it, man. People told me directly they were mad at me. Maybe some of you are watching online because you're mad at me. I don't know. Other people, family members, told me that they were mad at me because, man, I said, listen, here's the deal. If you weren't here, just a little recap. I said, hey, if you're not willing to serve and be like Jesus, you probably shouldn't take communion. Not because I don't want you to take communion, because here's the deal. You can't celebrate Jesus' service to you and death and resurrection, how he served and did everything for you, and then at the same time be like, nope, don't want to be anything like that guy. You just can't do that. I mean, you can, but Paul had a warning for it. You probably shouldn't. But here's the deal. Everybody who heard that sermon was like, good. You gonna do anything? Jesus like, here's the deal. You are like the foolish man who builds his house on the sand. And you don't see it. But here's what will happen. Next verse. The rain will come. It's not a matter of if, but when. Streams will rise, and the winds will blow and beat against the house. And just like that wolf and the big bad with the 3 little pigs, it will huff and it will puff, and it absolutely will blow your house down. And you will be left. As a matter of fact, some of you are here right now, and you are left picking up the pieces of broken marriages, divorced, trying to figure out how new marriages with old people, and trying to figure out new jobs or mistakes, or trying to figure out different health issues, and you feel completely lost. And it was a great loss. Because at the end of the day, It's only two people. It's only two people in the story. The wise and the fool. And I want to spend the rest of our time together talking about what are the things that we can pull out of this, because I think this is so powerful. See, number one is this. I need you to see this. It's deceptive. You notice in both the stories, they're working. This is why it's so deceptive. Both the stories, don't miss this. Both the stories, they both have an amazing house and both are working hard. Some of you in here today, you work really, really hard in your church and you think you're good because of that. Man, you serve and you give, and I'm all about serving, I'm all about giving. Do that stuff. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying you're so busy working on the house, but that you forgot that there's a foundation of Christ that's important. And you're busy, and man, it looks really good. People walk by and go, man, you must have a great marriage. Man, you're doing really, really good. Man, your finances, your job, your wife must be so lucky. Your husband must be so lucky. My wife hears that a lot, actually, so anyway. But you're doing. You got, listen, I'm telling you right now, you got a pretty house right now. But your foundation isn't on Christ. Your foundation isn't found deep within a relationship of who Jesus is. And you need to understand, it is a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. When the phone call, when the awkward conversation, when the moment happens. And if you're not careful, it will crush you. And here's the most heartbreaking thing for me. I'm speaking to so many of you, and you have no clue. Like I'm preaching this message right now, and you're going, Jimmy needs to hear that. If your name's Jimmy, I apologize. I didn't mean it's for you, okay? My cousin needs to hear that. That's good. Yeah, I'm talking right to you. And you think you're good with God. Why? Oh, you got a beautiful house. Oh, yeah, you got a whole bunch of stuff that you can point to. You got a whole bunch of things that you can do. But if you're being honest, you're empty. You're shallow. You're hollow. Because your foundation of who you are, your identity of not what you do, but why you do it, is not based in who Jesus is. Do you know why some people serve and some people don't? Has nothing to do with what they want to do. It has everything to do with their identity and who they are in Christ. Do you know why some marriages win and some marriages fail? Has everything to do with their identity in Christ. My wife and I, and we're going to talk about this, actually one of the most exciting things we get to do is my wife gets to come up here. I beg and plead with her to stand up here. She normally doesn't, but we're going to do a Q&A series at the very end of this series. And we're going to talk about the 1,001 ways that we could have messed up our marriages and we're still happily ever after. You want to know why? It's not because Nick's awesome. Trust me, ask her, okay? It's because our foundation of our marriage in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the storms, in the midst of the chaos that happened was built on Christ. And so I continue to serve my wife, not because I love her or I feel affectionate towards her, but because who Christ is in me. I do love her, just so we're clear, okay? Hashtag Nick hates his wife. No, that's not my point, okay? My wife loves me, not because I'm awesome, not because I'm incredible, not because I'm so great or whatever, but because at the end of the day, she understands what Christ did in her life and for her, and that gives her the motivation to do it. It's not about what you do. You can have a beautiful, beautiful house. What defines your depth and your relationship is how you handle the storms, not the successes. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm telling you right now, some of you, could you just pause dismissing me and going, it's not talking about me for a second, and maybe open your mind up and go, maybe he's talking about me. Second one is this. It's the depth, not the dilemma, that determines your destiny. Man, we live in a culture right now that's all about our problems, right? All about our excuses, all about our issues. Man, if you only knew my story, if you only knew my issues, if you only knew my past. And what they do is they focus on the dilemma. We're all about privilege right now, and I don't want to dismiss privilege because I think, yeah, certain people are born with more money or better parents. I don't want to dismiss any of that. But we've got to this place in our life that says, listen, it's not my fault. If you just knew my dilemma, if you just knew my storm, if you just knew how bad my wife was, if you just knew how bad my husband was, if you just knew how bad my kids were, how much of a jerk my boss, if you just knew my storm, well, then you would understand. I'm just telling you right now, that has nothing to do with it. I love this story because here's the deal. The storm's the exact same. The rains came. The streams rose. The big bad wolf came, blew down the house, same storm. Two radically different results. Why? Because of the foundation, not the storm. This is why you will see people and they will lose what seems like everything in their life, and they're going, you know what? It's painful, but I'm okay. People look at them and go, how do you do that? It's their foundation. How you see other people, maybe they're at work or they're at their job or whatever it is, and it's like the littlest thing goes wrong and they just crumble. You're like, what's wrong with them? What's the deal? I had a family member of mine look at me this morning and be like, man, and it said the wrong thing to me. They're like, man, I'm just having a crazy week. I'm like, what's going on? Like, man, I'm watching 3 kids this week. Just killing me. I'm like, wrong answer. I got 5. Sorry. Preaching the wrong person on that one. You know why? It's not the dilemma. It's not the storm. It's the depth. There's a meme out, and I hate memes, period, okay? Please don't share memes with me. I don't like them. I think they're 30-second, nice little straw man theology that doesn't line up to reality, okay? That's my whole deal. Let me just put a wet towel on memes for a second. But there's one of them that just drives me nuts, and it says this: until you walk a mile in my shoes, don't judge me. I hate that. That's stupid. It's ridiculous. You know why? Here's what they're saying. Maybe you've never thought about this. This is what I spend my week doing, so you don't have to, okay? Here's what they're saying. My dilemma is unique to me, and if you understood my dilemma, then you would understand why I feel stuck and I can't move. I'm a victim of my own life. No, you're not. No, you're not a victim of your own life. No, what determines your destiny in life has zero to do with your storms and everything to do with the depth of your relationship with Christ. Everything. And in this moment, I want to pause for a second and say something. I am not discounting your pain, because I know several stories in this room right now, and I don't know many, 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 many more. Maybe somebody's watching and they've had such bad dilemmas and storms in their life they can't even bring themselves to come. I don't know. What I do know is this. Well, I know all the pain. What it does is it explains your behavior. It does not excuse it. And I don't want to diminish your pain. And I may not have walked through it as well as you did. So again, this is not comparing. I'm not trying to say, hey, be more like me. Don't be more like me. Trust me, don't be more like me. What I'm trying to say is every single one of us has dilemmas. Every single one of us has storms. Success is not based on your ability to juke through the storms, to be like a ninja through life, just avoiding storms and avoiding issues and avoiding complications. And that's not what determines success in your life. What determines success is your ability to go deep with Jesus, to build a foundation with who Jesus is in your life, to come up with the right theology and application in your life so that when, not if the storms come, you go, I'm good. I got it. I'm not happy about it. It's painful, but I'm good. I can weather this. I can move past this. I was sharing something with somebody this week. One of my favorite songs ever is It Is Well With My Soul. Maybe if you grew up in church, you know what that song is. You know when that song was written? On a beach, after the man's whole family drowned. Think about that for a second. It is well with my soul. It was not when he had just gotten the raise and everything was awesome and his wife was great and they just had their 4th kid and he got the new promotion. Like, no. There was depth in this man's walk. And he's sitting on the beach, and he lost his family, and he writes this cry out to God in the form of a song. I'm not saying it's good. It's just well. For some of you, you've got to stop blaming your life, your parents, your spouse, your job, your income, how God made you, your health situation. You got to quit making excuses for the storms of your life and start understanding that it's your depth that determines your destiny. Next one is this. The loss is great. Jesus ends it, and the whole house is gone. Like the whole house is gone. And I need some of you to understand this, because here's the deal. You're lying to yourself. Like you show up, and maybe there's this thing, and maybe it's not even at church. Maybe you read in your Bible, or maybe somebody said something to you, and you've got a habit. You've got a thing in your world that's not everything. And again, you look at everything else in your world, and you go, man, but I give, and I serve, and I do this, and I got all these other things. And man, Nick, no one's perfect. But you've got this habit or this issue on the side of you, and you think, man, I'll be fine. I'll get through it. It's not a big deal. No one's perfect. You can justify it. And you heard what Jesus said, and you heard what God said about it, and it's clear, like you're convicted about it, but you refuse to give it over to God. You need to understand that when, not if, the storms come. It's great loss. More marriages have been broken because of a thought that was entertained too long, that turned into a comment, that turned into a conversation, that turned into a lunch, that turned into a longer lunch, that turned into a night away. And they will look at it and go, oh, you don't understand. It's the storm. It's my spouse. It's my situation. No. It's the depth of your relationship with Christ. And when those are ignored, there is great loss. If you're here today and you're lying to yourself and you've got a habit or a pattern or a thing, you got a side thing, you're like, no one's perfect. You just need to understand. Everyone. I love how Jesus is like, no one's special. Everyone's included. You continue down that, it is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when, and it will be great loss. So what do you do? How do you go deeper? Well, here's what I want us to do. For us as a church, I want us to be able to go deeper in our relationship with God. Because it's not a matter of if. I know our church is going to walk through stuff. Our church as a family, we're going to walk through things together, and we need to be deeper in our walk with God together. We need to make sure that we're on mission. Because I love what's happening here. We're about to baptize 7 or more people here in a few minutes. And man, I think God's doing incredible things. And what I know is storms are going to come. Things are going to happen. And so collectively, we need to be deeper in our walk with God to withstand it. But here's the deal. You need to be deeper in your walk with God. Because you're going to walk through things. You're going to have problems. Your kids, your spouse, listen, life happens. And my hope, my vision, my prayer for you and every single person in here is, listen, at the end of 2019, you can look back and go, man, I'm not perfect, and I had some ups and downs, but here's what I know. I'm deeper in my relationship with God. I'm deeper. And yeah, I had that happen, and yeah, I had that conversation, and yeah, that was unexpected, and yeah, those bills came out of the way, out of the blue for me, and I didn't know what to do with that, and yeah, my finances are with it, but you know what, at the end of the day, I'm deeper. I was able to handle the storms. It didn't crush me. Why? Because I got ahead of it, and I got deeper. I started digging early before the storms came. I built my foundation on who Jesus is. And that's how we do it. I want to give you 2 things you need to do to develop a deep relationship with God, though. It's really simple and incredibly hard at the same time. Matter of fact, isn't it so true that the simplest things are the hardest sometimes? Number 1 is this: acknowledge. And some of you need to acknowledge that God's speaking to you. It's easy. It's easy to kind of blow things off and sit back and go, man, I don't know. I don't know if it's God. I don't know. I don't know if I need to submit to that. I don't know. See, here's what I find. In the church here, I believe that we have confused, we're going to put it up here, we've confused good advice with God's voice. We've confused good advice, because here's the deal. Good advice, you know when you apply good advice? When all the circumstances line up. Somebody walks up to you and is like, hey, you should invest. And you're like, yeah, I will invest. When I get an extra 10 grand in the bank and I'm just sitting around with nothing to do with it, man, that's a great time. I'll invest. When my circumstances line up, then I'll do it. Hey, you should apply for that job. That's great advice when it opens up. Like, great advice is based on our circumstances. God's voice is based on our identity. It's who we are. It's what we're called to regardless of our circumstances. And what's happened is, I feel like in the conversational nature of sermons and things like that, in this hope and prayer to kind of partner with people, I think what's happened is, on some level, that God's voice has been lost. His authority has been lost. For some of you, maybe you're too familiar with God. Maybe you were raised in a church like, no, I know God, we're good. Like, if you've got kids, isn't this true? At some point, you have to reintroduce yourself. You know what I'm talking about? Like, every now and then, I look at my kids and I'm like, hey, I want you to clean your room. And they're like, oh, okay. And they never do it. Or they thought it was a really good suggestion. They're like, that's good advice. I'm like, oh, no. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Dad, okay? I have authority here. No, it was not good advice. Brushing your teeth is not good advice. That's a command, all right? Making your bed. There are certain things. And here's the deal. With my kids, every now and then, I've got to go, hey, I just want to remind you, I'm Dad. My words carry way more weight than your friends and other people. Because I've got daughters, and every now and then I've got sons, and I'll be like, hey, don't do that. And then they'll look at me like, but what about, and I'll do it, and so, and they got all these circumstances. I'm like, I don't care about your circumstances. My voice is louder. My voice is bigger. Not an authoritative yell kind of situation, but in a relationship thing. I'm Dad. And for some of you, you just need to acknowledge that you've got some patterns in your world. You've got a habit. You've got a thing. you're doing something, you're cheating on your taxes, and oh, it's not a big deal, no one will know, and who cares, but it's tax season, everybody does it. And, I didn't claim all the money I got under the table, okay, but who does that? You don't understand my circumstances. The government doesn't need it, they're going to waste it, and blah, blah. Like, you got some patterns or whatever, and you're justifying it. You just, maybe today, your first step is sit back and go, God, I'm just going to acknowledge that you're God. My life will come under the authority of what you say. It's not just good advice. It's God's voice, and his voice is eternal. Second thing is this, apply it, which seems so obvious. Apply it. But man, this is the one that really messes people up. Because again, churches are full of people who show up every single week. And man, they're good. They're like, they got the spiritual cows. Spiritual cows are fat. There's a lot of spiritually fat people in the church. You know what cows are set up to do? Slaughtered. Fed, and they just sit back and moo their way. Good preacher. Moo their way all up to the day they go, hey, come here. Steaks for dinner. Jesus says that's what some of you are like. You're going to sit back and you're going to listen to me and you're going to go, yeah, that was good stuff, Jesus. Thank you very much. You going to do anything? Nope. He says, yeah, there's a storm coming. You will not make it. It's application that really is all that matters. See, here's why this matters. Deeper is about trust, not truth. It's about trust, not truth. Every now and then, it doesn't happen a lot because of our church and the DNA that we've created and the fact that I preach about it and make fun of it. But every now and then somebody will walk up to me like, Nick, when are we going to go deeper? Depending on how obnoxious I am, I just lean in and go, hey, I don't know, when are you going to quit cheating on your girlfriend? I don't know. When you going to quit lying on your taxes? When you going to forgive that person that you know you need to forgive? And we both know, but you're being a real jerk about it. When are you going to do that? Because here's the deal. Deeper is about what you do, not what you know. So you want to go deeper. Here's the deal. I find that the people that want to go deeper tend to ignore and have the biggest ego about what they know. I have zero interest in over-educating you to the point that you cannot obey. None. I could. Listen, knowing how to speak and read Greek and Hebrew is not impressive. You know what it requires? A class. I took them. Not impressive. If I can learn it, so can you. You know what requires real stuff? Stand on the edge and ledge of your life. And hear the voice of God out there calling and jumping. That's depth. See this moment right here? Every parent's had that with their kids, haven't they? Because you jumped in the water, and you put floaties on them, and a life jacket on them, and a life preserver on them, and you couldn't drown them if you wanted to. I mean, like just, you get them on the edge and ledge, and what do you say to them? Jump. What do they say? Oh, I can't. And here's the deal. You want to go intellectual because you think it's information, don't you? Oh, I've never dropped you, have I? Except for that one time, but you got a concussion. You don't even remember that one. So, I've never dropped you. Come on. Would I let you? I mean, you go information. Why? Because you think it's an information issue. You think if they just knew more, then they would jump. It has nothing to do with that. The depth of your relationship has zero to do with information and everything to do with past experiences. And their willingness to jump is directly related to their relationship and trust with you, not you telling them more. You know how I know that? Because I've argued with my kids for hours on that. And they just look at me and be like, I can't. I just want to be like, that's what I want to do. I think that's what God wants to do with some of you. Because you've been hearing the same thing over and over and over again. You've been hearing the same patterns, same things. Stop, start. For some of you, maybe it's start something, start doing that, start. Like, there's this voice. See, let me define what I think going deep with God means. It's being sensitive to God's voice in your life, listening to what you should or shouldn't do, understanding that you don't want to do it, and then doing it anyway. That's it. Does that require Bible study? Sometimes. Does it require prayer? Sometimes. Sometimes deep is just being in the mall and feeling like God's saying, hey, I want you to go share your faith with that person. That's deep. Sometimes deep is just having a conversation. I had a conversation with God for 45 minutes where I argued with God for 45 minutes. I'm going to talk about it next week. It was hard. I felt like God just said, hey, Nick, I want you to do this. And I'm like, no. I'm really bold with God, privately, in a van. And I just felt like God said, okay. It was the worst thing for me, okay? Like, I like to argue, so I'm like, and God's like, okay, do whatever you want. I'm like, dang it. Deep is jumping. Deep is understanding that it's about trust, not just truth. You need truth. I'm not trying to dismiss that. But it's trust. Hebrews says it this way. It is impossible. I need you to hear that word, impossible to please God without faith. He doesn't say it's impossible to please God without knowing the Bible well. You want to hear something crazy? Oh, it's going to sound bad. That's okay. It's River Lake Church. So here's something crazy. Moses considered one of the greatest men to ever live, right? If you know much about the Bible. Moses. Do you understand that you probably know more about the Bible than he does? Think about that for a second. I want you to understand it. Like scriptural knowledge, you know more than Moses. Why was Moses considered great? Because he did it. Because God's voice, that spirit leading him, led him and said, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to go there. I want you to talk to Pharaoh. I want you to do this miracle. I want you to come on a mountain. I want you to, write on some tablets. I want you to lead the people. I want you to do all these unique things. And Moses did it. And he stood on the edge and the ledge so many times. He took the plunge. It's impossible to please God without faith. Should you read your Bible? Yeah. Should you memorize it? Absolutely. That's a step, not a destination. And too often I find Christians, man, they just want to spend 17 weeks studying Romans. So they just want me to confuse them so they don't have to love their neighbor, because that's hard. That's deep. Staying in a marriage that you don't want to. That's deep. Being honest on your taxes when you know it's going to cost you greatly, but you have integrity of who you are. That's deep. Don't tell me how much you know. Don't tell God how much you know. Listen, here's why I say that. You can fool everybody, but I promise you, one day a storm will come, and it will blow everything down. So here's the question. When was the last time God convicted you to do something you didn't want to do, and you did it anyway? You want to know how deep you are? Answer this question. Don't tell me how many Bible verses you know. Don't tell me how much church you go to. Don't tell me how much you give. All those important. Tell me, when was the last time that you were in a moment you felt like, man, I got to stop doing that. I got to cut that relationship off. I got to walk away from that opportunity. I got to go there. I got to start doing something. When was the last time that moment happened to you and you were obedient to it? Not because you wanted to, but because at the end of the day, you realize jumping is more important than staying where you are. If it's been a few weeks, you might be more closed off than you think you are. And I know that's offensive. Here's what I said early. It's deceptive. So many people come to church thinking, me and God are good, and God's going, I haven't talked to you in a real way in months. We haven't had a real conversation in weeks. Oh, I know you go. I know you do that. I know you got a really pretty house in front of everybody else, but as far as the depth of our relationship, yeah, we haven't really talked in forever. You want to know how deep you are? This is the grid. God is not interested in all the other stuff. It's fluff. So, I don't know what your next steps are. For some, it's salvation, like you need to give your life to Christ today. I'll give you a chance to do that. But you've walked away from God, you've done some stuff, and whole deal. I don't know if it's baptism. If you've never been baptized, and you're sitting here going, I've never been baptized, Nick, I'm scared of water, I've heard it all. Listen, I want to tell you, listen, that's your next step. We've got everything for you. We've got shirts, underwear. You know how awkward it is to go to Walmart and buy all kinds of different sizes of underwear? Like, what are you doing? I eat a lot. We have feminine products. That's weird to say. Never thought I'd say that from the stage. We have feminine products at the church. We have everything that you could think of. You have no excuse not to get baptized today. And some of you, that's your next step. And you have a whole bunch of circumstances and situations. God is not interested in any of them. So for some of you, it's to be baptized. We're going to give you an opportunity. For others, it's just to listen. Listen to that small voice and let God's Spirit speak to you. Let him tell you what your next step is. Because you can fool everybody. You can fool me. You can absolutely fool me. You can fool your spouse. You can fool your kids. Kids can fool you. It's crazy our ability to deceive ourselves and others, isn't it? This became so clear to me a few months ago. I was parenting my child, and my wife does an amazing job raising our kids. I really just feel like a stand-in some days. And so I'm sitting there, and Lisa's gone, and my kid's playing a Nintendo game, and I tell her hour's up. She gets mad at me because it was in the middle of the game, and she kind of puts it away and walks away in her 5-year-old self and goes, man, I wish I didn't even have a dad. Now, some dads would be hurt by that. Not me. I am like, challenge accepted. Let's do this, okay? We're going to role play this. That's cool. You want to do that? Listen, I'm not going to get mad. I don't get mad and yell. I'm not going to spank. We don't that's not our kind of deal. Like, we're going to play this game out. So I'm like, done, baby girl. Hey, peace. Walked away. I was like, till she apologized, she has no dad. Now, some of you think that's cruel. You're probably right. My kids will need counseling. But that's a different conversation for a different time. What happened over the next 2 days is I went out of my way to just break her. I really did. I was like, man, I didn't kiss her good night in bed. I didn't give her a hug. We didn't do anything like that. I was ignoring her, and she is like a stone cold fox. I mean, she's just there like, I'm like, oh, I went out, this is so terrible. I went out and bought donuts. I bought 6 of them, 6 really big donuts. You know why 6 is important? There's 7 in our family, okay? And so I made a big deal. I showed up, and I'm like, hey, here's a donut for you because I love you. Here's a donut for you. I love you. Here's a donut. And I'm watching her out of the corner of my eye, and she's on her little thing like, whatever. It is killing me. And I'm thinking, I am so torn between her independence, because I love that about her. I'm like, I didn't know. And I'm like, that is awesome. At the same time, I was like, I need you to need me a little bit longer. Okay, you're 5. Come on, what's the deal? And so we get to day 3, and I'm telling you, I'm about ready to break. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to break her, and she's going to break me. I'm really starting to get worried about that because I adore my daughters, and she's amazing. And so my wife and I were in bed, and we're talking about it. I said, man, this is really bugging me. And whole deal, man, she's just a sniper. I mean, she's just taking me out. And we're sitting there, and my wife's looking through her phone, and she sees that Emma had been recording videos. Now, my daughter loves to steal phones, and she loves videos, and I'm going to show you one today to show her the power of social media at a very early age. So anyway, but she loves to take these videos and shoot them of herself. And I'm having this conversation with my wife, and I'm thinking, man, she doesn't care. She's like, man, she's good. And we watch a video. It's 5 minutes long. You're going to see about 40 seconds of it. We watch a video that was just so helpful for me, but I think at the same time illustrates how so many of us live our lives. Here's what we saw.
I am a unicorn so much, and I have a human. I am a human so much. I am my sister and Kate. I have no dad. I need dad in my heart. I need dad. I need dad. I want dad back in my heart. 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 'Cause I love my dad. I want dad back. I want dad back and back. I want it back and back. And I'll cry if I have no dad. I'll cry.
It's 4.5 more minutes of that, okay? I love it when she almost starts to fake cry. Again, that girl is a stone cold fox. Okay? She's just, man, she's all over the place. She's got a gift that terrifies me, okay? Here's what I want you to see, though. She had me fooled. On the outside, oh man, she's awesome. On the outside, man, look like this perfect world. She's doing good. She's playing her Xbox. She don't need her daddy. She's doing all fine. She's really good. She fooled everybody. On the inside, she was hollow. She was empty. That's where some of you are right now. If you're being honest, and you don't have to be accountable to anybody, it's you. You built this perfect life, and you're fooling everybody. You're good. and you're doing it all, but if you're being really, really honest, inside of you, you feel empty. I want to invite you today, wherever you're at, to one of two steps. Number one is some of you, you've never given your life to Christ, and it's why you feel empty. That you're looking at your world, and you're looking at your marriage, and you're looking at your life, and you're going, Nick, I can't even put this back together. And I would go, yeah, I know that, but Jesus can. I know you can't put it back together, but that's what God can do. God takes the impossible and makes it possible. And some of you, you think you're so far gone. Maybe you're watching online, and you think you're so far gone. That's why you're not here. Maybe you think you can't even come to a place like this. And yet you can hear God calling you, inviting you to a different relationship. A relationship that's deep. A relationship where you've got a whole bunch of excuses as to why not to surrender your whole life to God, and you're standing on the edge and the ledge, but Jesus' call to you is to jump. Is to really commit your whole life. See, the crazy part about jumping is you're committed. You can't, after you jump, go, you can't change your mind. You're committed. And that's really what salvation in Christ is. It's a jump that we take, and we're committing to God. And the grace and the beauty of the gospel is once we make that decision, it says that we're His, that we're good, that He has us, and He never lets us go. He never lets us drown, and we can do nothing too bad to walk away from Him. So some of you, we're going to pray in a minute. Some of you, you need to give your life to Christ today. You need to make that decision and take that step to really. Maybe you've been pretending. Maybe you grew up in church and everybody thinks you're saved, but you're really not. You've done an amazing job. Or maybe you didn't know until today. Maybe you didn't really know. You never thought about it. Maybe nobody's ever preached it the way that I preached it today. And so you thought you were good. You were deceived. You were talking about whatever. You thought you were good. And yet today I'm talking. It's like, man, you feel something in you. You feel that talking. Like, man, you need to really give over your life today. You need to really surrender it. I want to give you an opportunity to just pray a prayer. Not that the prayer is special, but to give your life to Christ. But for the rest of us, I want to encourage every single person in here to take whatever your next step is, to jump. Maybe it is baptism. Maybe it's cutting off a relationship. Maybe it's confessing a sin to somebody else. Maybe it's repenting. Maybe it's taking a jump and doing an opportunity. I don't know what it is. I just know God's called us to the deep end. God's called us to the edges and to jump. And this is where life starts. Not in the safety and the security, but when we fully, totally trust Him with our whole lives. Let's pray. Would you all bow your heads? If you need to give your life to Christ today, I want you to pray after me. If you need to make that decision, God, I give you my life. I ask that you forgive me my sins. I trust you with everything. I believe that you lived a sinless life. You died for me. You rose again 3 days later. Help me be who you've called me to be. Thank you, Jesus, for grace and mercy. Amen. For the rest of us, God, I pray for every person in here who knows you but maybe isn't listening to you, or maybe is listening but got some areas. I pray that you would break through the stuff, break through the issues, break through the chaos, break through the deception, and you would start to speak a fresh word into their minds and their hearts. You'd break them. You'd remind them both of what you've done for them and the fact that they can never ruin it, but also to the life that you've called them to and their next steps. Give them boldness in whatever that is. Help them go deeper in their walk with you. Amen. Hey, with everybody, just keep your heads bowed really quickly. We just want to check. If you prayed that prayer of salvation for the first time, we believe it's not our job to convict you, but it is our job to partner with you. And we just love, would you just raise your hand if you just did that? Would you raise your hand if you gave your life to Christ today? Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Everybody look up here. We're going to do baptisms. I'm going to say this. We got 7 lined up. If you're one of the people that gave your life to Christ today, I want to invite you to your next step. Again, we've got all the stuff. We got shirts and everything. All you need to do is just go through that door right there. Make a decision. to take your next step, to make a decision after your first step, your next step. And maybe you're here today and you've never been baptized. I want to encourage you, take your next step. We've got a lot of people doing it today. It's going to be an awesome opportunity to be faithful, to get on that edge and ledge and go, no, I'm going to quit playing it safe. I'm going to take my next step. So if that's you, I want to invite you. I'm going to pray one more time. Would you all stand with me? The rest of you, you're going to sing a song, and we're going to go through that door right over there, and we're going to get ready for baptism. Whether you get baptized today or not, I want to encourage you, if you gave your life to Christ, would you text us and let us know? Text the word no at 31996 or fill out a Connect card. But again, I really want to encourage you, take that step of baptism. So when I get done saying amen, you get baptized, walk through that door. Let's pray. God, thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for next steps. Thank you that no matter what we do, you don't leave us there. You call us to something deeper. You call us to something more. And no matter how far we run from you, you are literally one turn away from a new life. Thank you for what we're going to celebrate here with baptisms. We love you and praise you, and thank you so much for this. Amen. If you want to be baptized, walk through that door right over.